Genghis Khan is a name that echoes with power and fear. But how did a man born among rival tribes on the harsh steppes of Mongolia rise to command the largest land empire in human history? Was it through ruthless violence alone, or was there something deeper? An extraordinary system of organization, intelligence, and vision, centuries ahead of his time. Could his empire have been the result of chance? Or was it built upon strategies so innovative that they shaped entire civilizations that came after him? The extraordinary growth of his empire raises questions that continue to puzzle historians and captivate the imagination to this day. To understand Genghis Khan's rise, it is necessary to understand the environment that shaped him. The Mongolian steppe in the 12th century was a vast, unforgiving landscape of open grasslands and rugged mountains. Winters were brutally cold, and summers provided little relief. Life revolved around herding animals, with tribes roaming in search of pasture for their horses, sheep, and yaks. Societies here were organized through clans and tribes, but alliances were fragile, and rivalries often ended in bloody conflict. Out of this turbulent world, where survival depended on mobility, skill, and strength, Temujin, the boy who would later be known as Genghis Khan, was born around the year 1162. The young Temujin faced hardship almost from birth. His father, a tribal leader, was poisoned by rivals while Temujin was still a child. His family was abandoned by their allies, left impoverished, and forced to scavenge for survival. These years were marked by hunger, danger, and betrayal. Yet, according to historical accounts, Temujin displayed remarkable resilience. He forged alliances with other clans, built loyalty among close companions, and used both cunning and force to navigate the dangerous politics of the steppe. Historians believe that these early struggles instilled in him a profound understanding of human ambition, fear, and loyalty, insights that later became the foundation of his empire. One of Genghis Khan's greatest achievements was the unification of the fractured Mongol tribes. For centuries, these groups had fought one another, raiding and feuding without end. Temujin introduced a bold new vision. Instead of binding loyalty to kinship alone, he demanded allegiance based on merit and shared purpose. Warriors who proved themselves in battle rose through the ranks regardless of family background. This approach broke traditional barriers and strengthened his forces with talent from across tribal lines. Against fierce resistance, Temujin gradually defeated or absorbed rival clans. By 1206 AD, he had consolidated enough power that a general assembly of Mongol leaders declared him Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. The Mongol military under Genghis Khan became one of the most effective fighting forces in recorded history. At its heart was the horse archer, a warrior capable of moving with astonishing speed and firing arrows with deadly precision at full gallop. But it was not only mobility that made the Mongols formidable. Genghis Khan organized his army into units of tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s, a system that ensured discipline and flexibility. Each unit had leaders chosen for ability rather than noble lineage, and strict codes demanded loyalty and accountability. Communication across vast distances was achieved through relay riders, and intelligence gathering through spies and scouts enabled them to adapt quickly to enemies. Historians argue that this combination of discipline, meritocracy, and innovation was unrivaled at the time. Another defining feature of Genghis Khan's conquests was his use of psychological warfare. Towns that resisted often faced brutal destruction, while those that surrendered without a fight were frequently spared and sometimes integrated into his empire. Word of these methods spread quickly, creating fear that often led to submission without battle. His forces also employed deceptive tactics, such as staged retreats to lure enemies into ambushes. Historians believe that these ruthlessly efficient strategies not only conserved Mongol strength, but also heightened their reputation as an unstoppable force. While the destruction was enormous, these policies accelerated the expansion of the empire across vast territories. Once united, the Mongols launched campaigns beyond their homeland with shocking speed. In northern China, they overcame powerful dynasties, using both siege technology learned from captured engineers and their own relentless cavalry. Moving westward, they crushed the Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia, demonstrating their ability to adapt to diverse geographies and formidable opponents. By combining mobility with advanced siege tactics, the Mongols conquered fortified cities previously thought invulnerable. Evidence shows that they incorporated craftsmen, soldiers, and scholars from captured regions, using local expertise to strengthen their forces. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227 AD, his empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. While remembered primarily as a conqueror, Genghis Khan also established systems of governance that held his vast empire together. He introduced a legal code known as the Yasa, which, though its exact details remain unclear, enforced order and loyalty within his domains. Religious tolerance was also a notable feature, as Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, and others were allowed to practice their faiths as long as they remained loyal to Mongol rule. Trade was promoted across the network of Silk Road routes, providing security for merchants and linking distant regions. Scholars today emphasize that these administrative policies were crucial. It was not only conquest, but also governance that enabled the Mongol Empire to sustain itself. The empire forged by Genghis Khan continued to expand under his descendants, eventually covering most of Asia and reaching parts of Europe. Yet even during his lifetime, the impact of his leadership was immense. The Mongol expansion facilitated an unprecedented exchange of goods, technologies, and ideas across continents. Papermaking, gunpowder, and medical knowledge traveled along protected trade routes. Today, historians argue that the Mongol Empire laid the groundwork for a more interconnected world, centuries before the so-called Age of Exploration. Yet it also left behind a reputation of immense bloodshed and destruction, a dual legacy that remains the subject of fierce debate. In the year 1227 AD, Genghis Khan died during a campaign in western China. The precise cause remains uncertain, with theories ranging from illness to injury in battle. His burial site has never been definitively discovered, adding an air of mystery to his already legendary story. Despite his death, the systems he created, military, political, and administrative, allowed his empire not only to endure, but to expand to its greatest extent under his successors. This continuity suggests that the foundations he built were stronger than the fate of any single individual. The story of Genghis Khan is not simply one of conquest, but of transformation. From the vulnerable boy Temujin to the ruler called Genghis Khan, his life demonstrates how vision and strategy can reshape entire regions of the world. Historians today continue to debate whether he should be remembered as a barbaric destroyer or as a brilliant architect of global connections. What is clear, however, is that his empire remains the largest continuous land empire in history, and his innovations in leadership, governance, and warfare continue to echo across the centuries. The rise of Genghis Khan reminds us that even from the harshest beginnings, entire worlds can be forged and empires can be born.